Hey everyone, welcome to episode 15 of the Sarah's podcast with Kelly and Tim Barnes from Krispies in Exmouth. We had a pretty chilled conversation about their journey, Krispies, the awards, and of course, the battered chip. A big thanks for downloading this episode and that you're actually still with us. We have some great people lined up in the near future, so we're pretty stoked about that. We hope you enjoy this episode. And be sure to leave us a review in iTunes if you have a spare moment. Kelly, Tim, thanks for having me here today. I know you're not busy. Everyone else I see is busy. You guys ain't busy. So I just wanted to say a few words before we start, just so people know who you are. But Tim and Kelly are from Krispies in Exmouth, the current Fish and Chips of the Year holders. I know you meant to say independent, but I think everyone gets the gist. And then, but I did a bit of research this morning just to have a look at how long I've probably known you both, and I found that Tim had first emailed me in 2011. He's been buying some products since 2013, but in 2017, Sarah's were given the opportunity to work on the Krispies batter mix, which is pretty unique because it's used for the fish and it's used for the Krispies famous battered chips. There are a few secrets that we can't really discuss in this podcast, though, because I'd get told off. We've had this episode planned for a while, I think it's fair to say, but you two decided to go win Fish and Chips of the Year, so we had to push it back. So yeah, how annoying, guys. Think of my schedule, not yours. Yeah. And thank you for having me in your lovely home. And like I said, I've already decided it's lovely. I've only seen this bit, but it's lovely. But I think a good place to start is, where did you both meet, and who's going to start with that?
Okay, yeah. I'll go first. Tim will interrupt.
Is this going to be like a romantic story?
Cheesy. So we used to holiday in Sandy Bay all the time because I'm from Burton-on-Trent originally. And we're in Sandy Bay, middle of August. Second week of my holiday, I met a bouncer, Tim, and that was on the Wednesday of my second week in August. And in the January, we moved in together.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was literally just 17 in the December when I moved out.
Did everyone think you were crazy? Come on.
Wow.
Well,
I'll let you tell this bit.
I was 19 at the time,
Yeah.
and somebody told me that she was 21.
Oh.
So, which didn't actually come out until after 3 months of living together, that she was only 17.
It could almost be like a sitcom, couldn't it?
Oh my goodness. That's so true.
But yeah, I mean, even my parents. Well, it was always sort of on the pretense, which I'm sure was never ever going to happen, that she was going to live with me until she found a job and somewhere of her own to live.
She never found a job.
She never ended up. I gave her a job, and she never moved out when we ended up kicking out my flatmate at the time and staying together.
So it should, innit, Kay? You should have come first. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Terrible.
That was great cleaning.
And Tim, you're from Sidmouth. Kelly from Burton-on-Trent, from my neck of the woods, not far. And then what I didn't realise until last night when we were having dinner is that you guys had a shop in Dawlish before all of this.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of background. How did that all start?
Well, I after working at Sandy Bay, where I met Kelly, had to get a proper job at the end of the season. So I literally took the first job I could get, which was in a chip shop in Exeter.
Mm-hmm.
Within 6 months, I was managing the place because the owner had a bit of a nervous breakdown, and everything was sort of dumped in my lap to just keep the place going. Didn't really know what I was doing. I'd been to college and I'd trained to be a chef for 3 years before that. And when he left, I needed help, so I employed Kelly. And in the meantime, whilst this chap was off recovering from his nervous breakdown, he met, he was in his 50s, and he met this lady who had 3 teenage children. And he came back and said, we're coming back now, and the kids want a job.
Right.
So we no longer have a job for you.
That's nice.
And made me redundant. Then I decided that we wanted to do it on our own. And the only way we could do it at the age of 20 was to twist my parents' arm and ask them to use their house as a guarantee to get a mortgage in my name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way it was.
Yeah.
So we bought what we thought was a nice chip shop in Dawlish, but it was in the totally wrong place. It was right on the corner of a busy road, railings outside. It was seasonal, but there was a shop 50 yards around the corner where all the coaches would stop, and they always used to go off the coach and pass straight into their shop. We could never get the locals because it just wasn't in the right place. So after losing quite a bit of money and worry there, we decided we needed to get out of it. So we put it up for sale and we bought Krispies.
And that was in 1999, was it, Krispies?
December 99, we took over Krispies, yeah.
So aside from just making a living, what made you want to get a fish and chip shop? Like, did you love it? What, did you think you could, or was it just there was not a lot of choices? What was it?
We took the turnover at the shop we worked in Exeter from £2,000 a week to £5,000 a week.
Okay.
Within the space of 6 months.
All right.
So
that gave you a bit of hope. You knew you was good at it.
Yeah. Tim was frying. I was on counter, and it just worked. Whatever we have today, it was working back then as well. And so with the support of Dad, we knew that that's kind of the route we wanted to go down. Fortunately, it was a great learning curve though. Dawlish was. It was taught us some hard lessons as youngsters. I think we worked 7 days a week, and we were working 70, 80-hour weeks without a day off. So it really taught you that hard graft. And then 5 months off in summer was just completely
And
dead.
also a shop like that, you put all that effort in, and it must be heartbreaking. Not just that, any business, you put all that effort in and there's no return at the end of it. And yeah, that must be pretty hard. Should say we've got to get out and lick your wounds and move on to the next thing. But I suppose that is a lesson. Sometimes you just have to pull out. You just have to say, enough is enough here.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank goodness Krispies was on the market.
And that's just luck of the draw, I'm guessing. Yeah,
I mean, it'd been on the market for about a year and a half, 2 years, I think. And Tim's dad is just businessman through and through. So he used to come over and he used to bring this cone of cold crinkle cut battered chips.
All right.
And he'd be like, "Look at these are amazing." And we were like, "What is this?" And it was really fascinating for us to then go and think, maybe we'll go and have a look at this shop. And I remember the first day that we walked into Krispies when we were going to buy, and all I could smell was this stench of southern fried chicken. Right. It was horrendous. There was no smell of fish and chips, but because they were from the West Midlands, the people that owned the shop had a real vast menu.
We did everything, didn't we? Kebabs, pizzas,
oh, really?
Some fried chicken, and there's a kebab shop 50 yards down the road.
Yeah,
we got a KFC in town. I mean, one of the first things that we decided that we needed to do was, get rid of the stuff that we were playing at and that weren't doing it properly.
So how long do you think before you started getting rid of your southern fried chicken, your pizzas, your kebabs? How long would you say it was?
I think kebabs was the first to go after about a month.
Yeah.
Because I hated doing them. Didn't know what I was doing. I'd never done them before. The sun fried chicken we sort of held on to for quite a while. But we never did it properly.
No.
We used to cook one batch a night, let it go cold and microwave it. That's how the previous owners did it. And we just continued doing it their way. So
essentially, Krispies pre-1999 was a fish and chip shop, but it was also a general takeaway. And then after that, it's almost become dedicated to just fish and chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they did pizzas on a big scale, really. Before Domino's was in town, they delivered. They had 2 vans that we inherited. But we never made any money on it. The vans used to cost us a fortune to insure. And so Kelly used to run the pizza side and I used to do the fish and chips. And we just never really successful with it. So the pizzas was draining something out of the shop. So we decided that eventually we'd cut out the deliveries.
I think there is a lesson there. I know a lot of people would want to expand the menu and do all of that. But it does take a drain out of your cash flow. It takes a drain out of your profit margin. It's all sitting in the freezer.
Yeah.
You're waiting to turn it over. And it's not really, if you are selling a lot of fish and chips, that moves. It keeps cash flow moving, doesn't it?
And I'm a big believer of not doing lots of things all right.
Yeah.
I want to do one thing or a few things really,
Yeah.
really well, as best as I can do.
That makes complete
I
sense.
think that's what we saw, wasn't it? Is it was just slowly fish and chips was just each year it was 3-4% more than anything else. So yeah, we decided we were just gonna.
And if you took over in 1999, so I'm guessing we're probably in a weird sort of place at the moment, recession. If we're not, I don't know if we're in a recession, but we're definitely not growing. But you've definitely been through one, in 2008. And how did you find that?
For us, it was massive growth.
Yeah.
We felt that people weren't going out to restaurants and eating as much as they used to. People weren't going on abroad as much as they used to, so they'd come down to us and stay at the holiday camp. So for us, the recession was actually quite a good thing.
A benefit in some respects.
Yeah.
And do you think that's probably the case now a little bit with the whole, I'll say the dirty word Brexit. Maybe people aren't going away as much at the moment. Do you see that a little bit?
I think so.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think you see people in Exmouth that just do not want to leave, you know, because there's always that uncertainty of what's going on. So yeah, we do. It's each year has got sort of 20% each year is grown. We've seen year on year growth.
Yeah.
So if we look at your early days at Krispies in Exmouth, then what were the biggest challenges? Do you think?
The biggest challenges were making money and paying the VAT bill.
Yeah.
We weren't a massive shop then when we took over. It was a very tired shop. It was 11 years old. The people we bought it off had started it from scratch, but it was starting to look very tired. We had a little £3 Middleton's range. It was just you needed to do something to it. We were just ticking along, barely breaking even.
We kind of had three, we sat around the table because Tim's parents were quite heavily involved in the early days.
Yeah.
And we sat around the table and it was kind of complete refit, sell it up and do something else, or we invest a little bit of money and we tart it up and make it a little bit better because we weren't where we thought we were going to be. And that's when we took the plunge and had the very first refit, wasn't it? Because it was at that sort of stage where we just didn't know where we were going and what we were doing with it. It was just up in the air.
Yeah.
So it's almost like jumping in 100%, giving it your all, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so
that was easy for us, though, I think, at the time, because we were young.
Yeah.
It wasn't my house used as a guarantee.
I guess that does help. Yeah.
But it was kind of all or nothing. If we stayed where we were probably going to go broke.
Yeah.
And if we did the refit and it didn't work, we'd probably go broke.
So
it was kind of
give it yeah. And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? If you're too scared to move, you're going to go broke, and so you might as well just do it. And you didn't have many other options on the table, did you? So
no.
Absolutely.
So, and this was pre-kids, I'm guessing.
Yes.
So, what was it like juggling the business when the kids came?
I'm going to answer this.
I thought so. I thought this was naturally going to float this way.
As a mom, it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
I didn't teach my daughter to swim. I didn't teach her to ride a bike. She went to parents' house on a Friday. She came back on a Sunday because I worked all weekend. During the week, we kind of managed to juggle shop and work together between us. But we had a baby monitor, and I'd go downstairs at 7:00, and the baby monitor would come downstairs with me, and I'd put her to sleep, and that's kind of how we worked, wasn't it? The staff always saw us on the floor, regardless of how young Holly was, and in the morning she'd be in a baby walker and she'd be whizzing around, touching things she shouldn't have been touching, and
Standard.
Today would have been like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. But yeah, she was happy, and I think from that very early age, for me, that's kind of what's taught my daughter work ethic, because she's seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
I also found it quite hard in a different way. I'd like to get my bit across. Because we'd always worked together.
Yeah.
Every time we were open, every shift, we worked together. And it was the first time that actually I had to learn to do a lot of it on my own.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kelly was there at weekends when it was busy. But it was a lot more of, I wasn't with the kids because I was having to work, but also I was having to manage all these staff on my own. Not that we had that many at the time.
But still, it's like
it was just that. It was just really weird. It was the whole setup had changed. The dynamic of it it just completely changed.
How do you cope with sleep deprivation and running a fish and chip shop? Because that, I find that hard running, a batter company, let's say. So, you know, my wife finds it harder, no doubt. But I'm just saying, like, you know, coming into the shop, does it make you snappier? Does it make you like?
Oh, it was very hard, wasn't it?
It was tough. It was just kind of but I think it's like in all things, you just kind of have to get on with it. We always had this vision, and the kids were part of that vision. Yeah, they were never. They kind of came into our lives, and we were going to carry on doing what we wanted to do. Yeah. And
so you've got 2 kids now. Yeah, and so how are you going to cope third time round?
Not a chance.
You know, so, you know, if we fast forward a little bit, obviously there was lots of challenges, you know, there's no doubt, you know, you overcame them, you clearly have, because you're here now, like, you know, but in 2017, you both went on to, was it called the Best of British Takeaways or something or the other?
Yeah, BBC's Best of, was it Best? Yeah,
Best of British Takeaways.
And I watched it a little bit, and I think I watched it like about 3 months after it was out, because you know what I'm like, I just don't catch up with stuff like that. But what was it like going on TV? Like, how did you sort of find that? Like that?
Well, this was one of those great things that Kelly loves to do, and just say yes, and then I sit there, very nervous, worrying about it. But it was actually, it was great. Yeah, it was one of the most surreal experiences we've ever had.
Well, just to interject a little bit, Kelly is happy with the outcome of that, because she made up a new name for you after that, didn't she? What do they call you, Tim, now?
Well, yeah, there's always seems to be when the cameras come out that I can actually talk. I don't like making small talk to people.
Probably the only time that Kelly lets you.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of, all my friends now know me as TV Tim. And when I'm sitting quietly in a corner in an evening, if they're around and they sort of all joke and say, should we just get the cameras out and get me going a little bit?
But yeah, you do. I think you do. You're not a man of many words. Like, you know, if you're out and about, I think you like to weigh the room up first. I've noticed. I think you know, especially in our industry, which is full of lots of big characters, let's say, you would just like to figure out who's what first. And
and I'm not very. I don't like to throw my opinion out there too much.
No, it's more about absorbing people's. Let's see what they're saying first. A bit.
I'll listen to what they're saying and then think what a load of rubbish that is, or
well,
not.
And I think
I won't say it.
I don't know if Kelly will agree, but I think with Tim, like, he takes the measure of a person over a long period. It's not just after seeing them once or twice. I think
absolutely.
Yeah, like, and
I can pretty much make up my opinions in a short space of time, good or bad. But yeah, he's always been like that. I'm very much, as he said, going back to, you know, the Best of British Takeaways. Yeah. I saw this email and I was just like, I literally had this 1-line email. I'm from a TV company. I was like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I was just like, I'll make the phone call anyway. What harm's it going to do? And I basically sold our soul without him realising it to this producer, and they came down and did a video. But Tim was very dubious, like right from the start, you know, what is this going to do? And I was just like, it'll be fine. That's my word. Anyone that knows me, it'll be fine.
Well, I was very worried about it. I didn't want it to show the fish and chip industry in a bad light. Yeah. And I was very, is it going to be a health route they're going to go down, or is, what was it going to be?
There's always some negative somewhere, isn't there?
So once it was very clear that it was just to celebrate the takeaway, then we were quite happy to do it.
And I can't remember, there was you, there was Papa's.
And guy called from
Hook Fish and Chips from London. That's it.
Yeah, and that was Simon and Barry, and they were, you know, it was really, really interesting. The dynamics of watching different people work, and it was possibly one of the hardest things I've had to do, because having a camera in your face when your emotions are very much on show, and I don't hide my emotions.
It's almost like you split yourself in two. There's the outside look and the inside, and you have to be like extrovert and introvert at the exact same time. And that's why I'm not very good in front of the camera, because and I know people think, oh yeah, as if like you do videos, but again, like I feel like I'm on show, like it feels really weird. So like being on TV in front of all those people with a spotlight on not just fish and chips but your business must have been a bit like weird.
Yeah, but I think it also it sort of I think I grew from that. Yeah. I could do these sort of things a bit easier. It helped with presentation at Chip Shop of the Year, and we did our video afterwards, and he said, you sailed it. You were clearly prepared for the bigger video event.
Sod the BBC.
Well, look, that's like the BBC is like it's the step up, and then obviously Sarah's YouTube channel is the step above that. Yeah. So if it wasn't for BBC, thank you to them, by the way, for getting you prepped for it. But no, it's like it was really good. And I think I watched it, and I did think like everyone put themselves across really well, and like the Pappas boys did. I don't know the guys from Hook, but everyone came across really well. And I think anybody that watched that, and lots of people watched that, would watch that and think, I think everyone has this preconception of fish and chips anyway, like, oh, it's just a chippy, like. But I think like that probably is one of the many things that we've had over the last few years that sort of shows people, oh, I didn't realise that it was that serious or that important or whatever. Like, there was a lot of opportunity for everyone there to talk about the positives of fish and chips.
There was. I mean, I think the final viewing figures were 2.1 million for that show.
Yeah. Oh, just a bit less
Just
than our YouTube channel.
But it was just a great experience. I just. How can you not want to take part in something like that? And for the industry and for your own business and for yourself. And
was there a good vibe afterwards from like customers and everything?
Oh yeah, it was well received.
It was on the front of the paper, wasn't it? Local paper. Right?
Yeah, it's a
great... is that the one where you had white hair? I told you I was going to throw that in somewhere. Did that too?
Yeah, they like to bring that one back down again. But no, it was very good. The thing I found hardest was that they were quite cagey about what the whole show was going to involve because they didn't want it to get out there.
Okay.
So they didn't tell us about a competition. They said it was just we're just going to have a little bit of a cook on the quayside. There's going to be no competition, and they stated there's going to be no competition until the day, and then of course there was a competition.
Yeah.
So I like to prepare quite a lot. I don't like going into things that I don't know what's going to happen. So I found that quite hard, and also just being able to, I can't think of the word now, just sort of, show fish and chips in the right light. Yeah. They wanted us to reinvent fish and chips.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's kind of, I spent months worrying about, is what we're going to do the right thing to be doing?
I think it's a funny thing. I know everybody I get the challenge bit. Like, it's always a bit of fun, isn't it? But the best fish and chips I've had ever are the ones that haven't been messed with. Like, it's really strange. And one of the things I get asked a lot, and even in the Q&A that I've done recently, everyone's like, where's the best fish and chips that you've had? And I was thinking, like, it's weird because the best fish and chips I've had are literally the ones that are just done really well. Like, and not having any spices in it. I appreciate it, don't get me wrong. Like, one of my customers, we make flavour packets for them, and they do a lot of flavoured fish and everything. I get that, and it has its place, but I think I really do appreciate well done, well made fish and chips more. Like, and I think you guys probably are like that as well. You don't want to go down the gimmick route, do you? Really? Like,
no, we're just fish and chips should be simple. 3 ingredients. So I found that quite hard.
And what was it like watching yourselves back afterwards?
Horrendous.
Although we did have a showing.
Fair enough. That's all right.
Well, we had just friends. We had Krispies, and we had friends and family round, and it was great. It was really nice. It was a real proud moment, to watch something that it took like 7 months.
We filmed in June, and then it wasn't shown until February.
And so you kind of forgot about it because obviously Fish and Chip Shop of the Year came before it was shown. So we just kind of sort of forgot, and then we had this phone call like literally 2 weeks before saying it was going to be aired, and we were like, we had a friends and family round, and we ate Krispies and watched the telly.
8 Krispies. It's like a thing, isn't it? 8 Krispies.
Yeah,
right.
It's
is that? And I was brought up in a business where it was called Pete's Shippery, and all my mates were like, "We're having a Pete's tonight," and I was like, "What?" And now I sort of get it. It's the same thing. Krispies,
And it was one of the. It was for you. You said you went to Tesco's one day, and you hear if people don't say, "Oh, I'm going to have fish and chips tonight." It's I'm going to have Krispies tonight.
That's a good thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like it's just nice to be able to hear that, and it's not, and battered chips, obviously, that we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time.
But
what's the rush, Kelly?
That is what people want, it's Krispies.
So talking about battered chips, because Kelly just mentioned it anyway, and we've got more on that, but like on the British takeaway, it was afterwards, Tim, you sort of messaged me and said, we need to talk. Like, and I was like, what's up? And you were like, look, I saw our battered chips on TV. And I think I'm presenting this right if I'm not, just tell me. Because I don't want to egg it on or anything. But I think, you rang me, you're like, I'm a bit concerned about the colour of that batter. And you said that you'd thought about it for a long time, but it was just when you saw it on TV, it was just even more obvious. Let's say,
Yeah.
And then I think that's when we initially sort of get the call to come down and see you. And I brazenly say, yeah, I can do that. I can do that, And I think it was like
it's a northern thing.
Yeah, it's like 14 samples later. We nailed it, but it wasn't quite that many. But and I think So what? Give us a little bit about that. What were your thoughts about? And actually, while we're here, might as well tick something off the list and tell us how you ended up doing battered chips in the first place as well.
Well, battered chips we inherited it.
Yeah.
It was the only chips that we sold in the shop when we bought it.
It was the only.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
Okay.
so the people the people we bought the shop from were from Wolverhampton, and that's where it comes from, originates.
They talk funny, don't they?
And they only had a £3 range, so they could only do one sort of chips.
Wow.
So when we had the refit, we decided that we needed to do normal chips as well, because we knew for sure that that people used to come into us and buy fish and go up the road that's literally 50 yards away and buy chips because they didn't like the battered chips.
Mm-hmm.
So what better to do than satisfy both sorts of customers?
Yeah.
We actually probably thought that once we did that maybe the battered chips would just fizzle out and become a distant memory.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
No.
So
I think we branded them though. That's the thing. What we wanted to fizzle out, we then ended up.
I think in the last 5 years we decided that
to own it.
Actually, yeah.
And I think what probably helps is that you are far away from others doing it. Like in Wolverhampton, probably everyone, or Warsaw, those neighbourhoods, everyone does battered chips. So if you put a big sign up saying, X chippy, our battered chips, we're like, everyone does battered chips. Like, whereas down here, it's like,
I mean, I think there's one other in Southwest.
Yeah.
But I always was worried about the colour. It was an egg yellow colour that we put in the chips. And how these things happen, that one day it's going to be in the news or something, or somebody will make a complaint about it. And with all those E numbers, it can't be good for your children. And people used to come in and say, "Can I have a portion of the radioactive chips?" You just don't want that image, really.
Yeah.
We was really conscious, and we had no idea how you go about making a natural colour that doesn't have any E numbers and things like that. Which is why I thought of you.
Yeah, and I think and that's the funny thing, like, because I remember because we did get off to a false start a little bit, because I was trying to develop two side batters.
Yes.
And in the end, you were like, well, actually, no, I want to use the batter that I've got. And my concern was, well, normal batter doesn't batter chips well. So, and I remember I was driving home and I was scratching my head thinking, oh, now what? And I thought to myself, 1 minute, what if we add all the ingredients in a chip batter to this packet, which was now what you've got with the colours, which are all natural, of course. And I thought, and now that's what essentially turns your fish batter into a chip batter. And I think, and I think a lot of people probably just think, oh yeah, just knock it up quickly and off you go. But I think what's important here is that you guys actually batter your chips differently, which I can't go into, but you do batter them differently. And a lot of people would just do it a certain way that I've seen in Wolverhampton, let's say. But you guys actually do have a special technique as well, which makes them pretty unique.
I always thought it was the way you did it.
It's a fair point. And also, I think it's probably unique that you also blanch your chips as well. And I think but I think it's interesting that we was on Facebook recently, and some chap, and I think Kelly, you saw this, and I think some chap was saying, only do battered chips if you want to ruin your business. And I think that probably goes back to people probably using like crappy potatoes, or they've got eyes on them, and but you guys literally, there's no, in terms of the preparation at the back, it is the exact same chip.
Same quality.
Yeah. We treat them. They have to be equal. With the traditional and the battered. When you're selling a product, it's got to be just as good. It shouldn't be inferior.
And you know me, I don't eat a lot of carbs. We were discussing this last night, except for I wolfed down a burger last night. but generally, and I remember over the years, if someone ever said to me, "Oh, do you want some battered chips?" And I'm like, nah, that's all right, thanks. Like, I'll give them a miss. And at your opening was probably the first time I ate a proper portion of them, because obviously when we're testing, you have one or two and off you go. I must admit there was something about them. Like there is something about them, and I think, and I'm not just saying it. The batter, obviously, the way it's developed helps the chip cook out in the right way.
Yeah.
It's nice and fluffy on the inside and crispy on the outside and all that. I must admit, and they were nice. I spoke to someone else about it, and even he said, he goes, they're just so good, like, you know, and I think that is down to not just the batter. We were joking aside, it's everything. It's the process you guys put into it. So I do, you know, to some degree, if you are going to do, for argument's sake, pig spuds, you know, and they're sloppy and crap and they've got eyes all over them, well, yeah, that will ruin your business. You know?
Absolutely. And I think the battered chips for us have, as we've said, you know, we branded them, but I love converting people when they come to us. It's a selling point.
Yeah.
You know, people sort of come in because we've won the award, but still don't know we do battered chips.
Wow.
So they'll be there, and that you.
I told you guys, didn't I? I was at a christening about a year ago, roughly. Like, was it? I don't know. Maybe just Christmas time.
Yeah.
I'm at a christening, and a woman comes up to me, and I know her from a distance. She's related to one of my relations, so she walks up to me. She goes, "I've got to ask you a question." I was like, "All right." So there's me thinking she's an optician, yeah. So I'm thinking she wants to ask me about my eye, yeah. And she's like, "How do you know Krispies?" I was like, "Huh?" I was like, you are, like, you know what? Like, there's me thinking, you know, like, cheeky cow. I'm asking about me, like, you know, like, she's like, no, like, how do you know Krispies? I'm on their social media and I see that you're there with them. And I was like, oh, they're friends. Like, we supply them. She's like, oh my God, tell them to open a restaurant. Just tell them to open a restaurant. And I was like, all right, I'll text her now. Like, you know, like, and obviously Kelly straight away, we've got to open a restaurant. And Tim's like, shut up, Kelly. Like, you know, so but true. It is weird. I think, you know, you guys have really built up this thing where customers are truly, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be people that don't like what you do. You will get that. And that's any business, like mine, yours, someone else's standard. Like, but there is, you have got lovers, like people that really love, you know, what Krispies is putting out. Like, you know. I think I'd like to think that we've created something that people can buy into. And I don't just mean with the batter chips, I mean the whole concept of Krispies. Well, I think it goes into what we're probably going to talk about shortly anyway, and it's that you build a business over the long term, not the short term. And I think, you know, you don't just make little changes because you want to be popular for today. You're not just trying to be busy on Friday. You're trying to be busy every day over the long term. And I think, but we're going to talk about those decisions moving forward. But I think where we sort of flow on to now is the refurbishment. And I think, what, you know, I'd like to know is that you know, you've clearly built the business up year on year over the years. You know, you went from that 3-pan Middleton range, which was really early on. And then obviously you're doing bad chips and normal chips. So where do you end up? You know, you end up in this refurbishment stage, last year? But I'm guessing you had a refurbishment in between as well, because that big one. So tell us a little bit about that refurbishment and then the last refurbishment.
Well, the first refurbishment, we added a 4-pan range so that we could do both chips. So the idea was that we would have, because we blanch, or we didn't went in the Middleton range, but we decided we wanted to blanch. So we needed a pan to free fry the batter chips in, and then we basket them up, and then we finish them off in another pan. And then we had a third pan for doing your traditional chips in, and one fish pan. And that's soon after 5 years of doing that refurbishment. We outgrew it. So is this the one that you sold recently? The one that is the original Island range, the Kremko? Yeah. Oh wow, that lasted a few years then.
Yeah, it did.
And so after 5 years, we then added another 2 pans onto it.
Yeah.
So that we could then have the chips, and then we had 2 fish pans.
They were the ones on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we blanched it on the wall. Yeah. And finished off in the whole reason why we. We changed the whole shop around. We knocked the pizza shop into because it was 2 separate shops from the outside, and really configured the whole shop. And we thought we'd made it absolutely great.
We did. I mean, the 6-pan range is what carried us through the next 15 years. We had an interim refit in, I want to say 2006, end of 16, 17, where we tarted it up. We added menu boards and things like that. Just to make the shop front a little bit facially better. But the range was a hardy bit of kit. I think in hindsight, if Tim and I were doing things again, we'd probably refit every 10 years as opposed to every 15.
Yeah.
Just because the equipment, it was wear and tear.
It probably literally got bad, didn't it?
Literally, yeah.
And at the time when we did the refit, every in our area, there was no other chip shops like it. It was so modern. We had the dome counter. People just hadn't seen it before. I know it was around in the industry for quite a while, but down here it was we were cutting edge. And we're a true believer that the shop looking great and modern brought the customers in. And the consistency of the food that we cooked kept them coming back time and time again.
And I think that's the important thing. Like you've always got to push forward.
Yeah,
you can't, and obviously everyone around you will catch up at some point.
Yeah,
but then you just push forward again, and I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? Like
we sat, our whole business was just on a plateau from the day we bought it, until the day we refitted it, and then from then on, it's just gone up and up.
It's almost like you show investment, you show longevity, you show people that we're going to be here. I think, I read a book years ago about Subway, the founder of Subway. It was really interesting because he goes, the first Subway ever was ready to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
It was shocking. It wasn't making no money. So what does he do? He goes and opens a second one on the other side of town. And then they both get busy.
Right.
And he goes, because basically saying to people, I'm doing well, look at me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear that. There's a stupid plane. Did no one tell the airport today that we were doing a podcast? Tim, you forgot to email them, didn't you? They could have at least changed the flight path. So it's like, the point that, if you show people that, well, it's that old saying, isn't it? Build it and they will come. And I think you show people, look at us, we fixed it up. Well, it must be good there. Oh, they've just fixed it up. And they don't know that you're on your arse, that you're struggling, or, they don't know that. But it's just perception, isn't it?
And it took us 2 years to plan the refit as well. We went round so many different shops and, looked at different ranges.
Is this the last refit?
The very first one.
Oh, the very first one. And do you remember which shops then sort of would look good to you at that point? Do you remember any of that notable? I know it's been a long time ago.
Stein's was...
Yeah.
He was
kind of what we were looking at
the time, the biggest sort of local.
Yeah.
And we stole the tile from him.
Not literally.
We liked his tiles. And then the day we put them up, and everybody kept coming in and saying it looks like a public toilet. Because every time I went into a public toilet, I was like, oh yeah.
It is so weird because now everybody uses those tiles. Like you see them
now. They're massive.
Everywhere.
Everybody uses them.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about then.
Public toilets.
Slightly off piece. Makes a change for
so everyone was saying to you that they like that public toilet.
Yeah, I don't know who else we go around.
I think it was just various different. We kind of looked on the internet, and it wasn't on the internet then. Trade magazines and things like that, and I don't really know where else we went.
So, and this time round, what would you say? What was your biggest challenge this time round in terms of the refurbish? Obviously, you needed more throughput. That was one of the biggest reasons.
That was the main thing.
We'd reached capacity, hadn't we? We knew that if we thought we'd reached capacity 3 years before we had the refit.
Yeah.
Then we got busier and again and again. And we literally
learned to cope with it.
You just learn to adapt and overcome it. But we're talking 25 to 35 minute wait in summer when when it's nice weather and busy peak period. And we just knew that wasn't acceptable. We got to a level where we were just like, we can't keep on doing this. So we made that decision. And for us, it was about finance. Like would we get the finance? We were solely on our own then. Tim's parents had completely stepped back from the business, and we were really concerned. It's because it is your neck on the line, no one else is.
All of a sudden you know what it feels like.
Absolutely. And great respect to the parents, because actually all of a sudden we were losing sleepless nights over
I know, but it didn't really hold you back that much, because the range you put in was probably one of the most expensive in the country. But you still need what you need at the end of the day, don't you?
And we knew that what we were going to do is we were going to do it right, and we were going to make it last 10 years. And hopefully 5 years, and then 5 years, and pay it off for 5 years, and then 5 years time make some money.
Paul Williams just has to wait 8 years to get another range. He's just started sharpening his pencil. But again, you've built something to last, haven't you? So hopefully you won't outgrow it too fast. And I think you're in a better position, aren't you? So you've sort of you've put some money into that, and hopefully now it doesn't run out of steam. But it shouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean we for the past 15 years. We've had continual growth since we had the refit. So we wanted to do things like add a third fish pan for the odd time on a Friday and Saturday when we need it. The thing with our business is before we won the award, our lunchtimes were very small. We might just do a few £100s at lunchtime. And then the majority of our trade was between 5 and 8:30.
Yeah.
So it was such a massive, intense trade in such a short space of time. So that's why, I know there's people out there that probably take the same amount of money with half the amount of pans.
Yeah.
But and also you need so many pans for these blimmin' battered chips.
Yeah. But you've also got to consider, though, the trade that you guys do is purely going through the pans. It's not going through the kebab machines. It's not going through the burger machine.
Yeah.
It's not going through Southern Fried Chicken and pizza. It is solely through the pans. And that does change the dynamic a little bit. You know. So, which is a good thing in a way, because it's the fastest way to work as well. Like, because if you're waiting for a pizza, it's 10 minutes, and Southern Fried Chicken out the back. But yeah. So you sort of solve the problem of throughput. But tell us a little bit about what shops you went to see this time round, and what design influences, and because I actually think, if I'm honest, that although there is some similarities in some places, there isn't many, and I quite like the way that the scales look and all of that. So give us a little bit of Are they scales?
We didn't really look at any other shops this time. No, we knew how we wanted the kitchen to be laid out behind the fryers. We knew we were limited to being able to do with it, and we knew we needed to solve some of the problems that we were having. So we used to have a till at each end of the counter, and that wasn't working. So we created an order point and a collection point. We knew we wanted to give more space for the customers, so we moved the fridge. The rest of it, we also then did a lot of Pinterest of sort of what things we liked.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you gave the design. We employed a local designer who did the design, which we then sort of handed to the builder and said, "Make that."
What we did do though, we did a customer survey. And we've just completed our 4th one just after we won this year. And we listened to the customers. So for us, that's really important to be able to move forward. There's no point being in business if you're not going to listen to the people that are coming through the door. And they said that, little things like it's really loud, it's really confusing. They didn't know where to go. So we had really clear objectives for the designer of what we wanted to create. Which really helped, and they were absolutely fantastic.
So for you guys, essentially, it was evolution, not revolution. You literally just picked out 5 or 10 of the worst traits of the previous, or the current business at that time, and then thought, okay, let's move the fridge, let's make it less loud, let's have less waiting time, and so on and so on. Well, that makes sense. And obviously, not seeing more shops like this time round, would you say that was just... Is it the fact that you had more confidence, or because you focused on more of the negatives of the way it was anyway, that you wouldn't have learnt looking at other shops anyway?
I think the way we had the shop laid out from the first time was sort of the best way it could be. Unless I was going to change the style of range and go from a counter range to a wall range, then in our speed and pace of takeaway, I don't think you could cope with a counter range.
No. Well, you need a lot more room as well. Probably double the size.
It was kind of, we wanted an island range, so the way it's going to go, that is the way it can only go. So there wasn't really a lot we could do with it apart from just modernise it, freshen it up. The amount of people that said to us, "What are you doing this for? It looks brand new as it is," because we used to keep it clean and tidy. But our floor was lifting, and the whole thing started this time because we needed a new floor.
Yeah.
And so we wanted a whole new floor all the way through the whole building. And it was like, well, if we're doing that, we need to take the range out rather than cutting the range the floor around the range. And if we're taking the range out, we might as well get a new one.
Yeah, well, it's true, isn't it? All of this stuff does make sense.
And then it sort of snowballed then to a full refit.
That's how I decorated my house. Ask the wife. She went out for 10 minutes. It was on my birthday a few years ago. Next thing you know, I tipped down the banister. So that's why you never let a man do anything. Right. But no, it's so true. I do think it's a great success now. I think, forget the awards because you didn't win because you had a refit. That was already on its way. It was done. But the fact is that you can tell that you've just spent years nudging in the right direction. Lots of little nudges, and I think anybody that comes wouldn't see that, but anyone that's known you for a few years would know that you've constantly pushed forward. But now, moving on to awards a little bit. So obviously you've been in business as long as you have. You've not entered the awards that many times, actually. You've entered, 6 times in 2011, 13, 16, 17, 18 and 19. I would say I did my research, but Kelly sent it me this morning.
So I wasn't sure whether there was one before that, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So, initially, what was your thought process in entering any of these at any time? Like
the first 2 years, I would say, it was, let's just fill the application form and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And that was it. We didn't do anything. We didn't.
You didn't have any high expectations?
No.
Or no?
It was back in the day.
Way back when.
When Seafish's way of doing the awards was different. So you got a pile of leaflets that you give to customers. And it was quality service, quality food, and it was 1 to 10. So they'd mark it off and then you'd send them back.
And most people used to fill it out and sit next to a phone book.
Yeah. Absolutely. and it was, it wasn't a foolproof system. So you just kind of got your customers to fill it in and off you went. And I think even back then we got top 5 and we genuinely did fill it in properly. We got top 5 in the Southwest a couple of times and that was amazing for us. We did, stepping aside from the Fish and Chip Awards, the Chippy Choice Awards that were run by the British Potato Council at the time. Mm-hmm. When Keith Chegwin came to the shop, that massively increased our turnover in that year. It really, really helped because we just saw that we needed to kind of just get our name out there and not necessarily in the industry, but create something that people believed in.
Yeah.
That was really what the awards were about, I think, from the start.
Just started to realise what publicity you could get from advertising. Yeah, it was just a National Chip Week competition. And just from something so simple like that.
And you had to do nothing for it. All you had to do was turn up and do your normal day.
Yeah.
That's all you had to do.
Yeah.
And I think we see this a lot in our industry, a lot of comments like, oh, what do the awards do for me and all that. And I get it. Like, I get that there's resentment of anything out there.
Yeah.
But you just said the one thing, and that is you were massively busier after doing that.
Yeah.
And, that's what you get from it. And I think that's what we lose sight of. It's not about being the best. It's just about what you can get out of it, that PR.
Yeah.
And I think in our industry, especially the fish and chip industry, and I always class myself as a fryer. First, we discussed this last night. It's so strange. I've not fried full time for about 5 years, and I now own a business that supplies restaurants, pubs, but I still see myself as a fryer first for some strange reason. And we don't, as an industry, we don't get a lot of publicity, because it's not fancy, it's not Michelin starred, it's not, and I think. So for you to get a bit of PR, it just helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really helped to drive the business forward year on year. And I think it was, we prepared in such a way that right at the start, it was just kind of let's enter, see what happens. And then each year we got more and more serious because the awards changed and everything sort of changed in the way that they were run, really.
And it's sort of clear to see that, based on the discussion we've just spoke about over the last 10 minutes, that you guys weren't ever doing anything just for the awards. It was, in the beginning, it was to stay in business, then it was to improve business, and then it was to improve business again. So, what sort of things would you say that you did over the years that probably did have a side effect of helping for the awards?
Obviously, the feedback that you get from the awards is great.
Yeah.
And we use that not to see how we could do better for the awards next time, but how we could improve our business. The first 2 years, I would say that we just entered and see where we got.
Yeah.
And we didn't do our paperwork, wasn't up to date. We always had that attitude, well, if we get through the mystery shop, and they come and do the audit in that 2 month period where they were waiting for them to come, we'll quickly get it done up to date. And we never got to that stage. But then we started to realise that we needed to grow the business. We needed to be better. We were taking on more staff because the business was getting busier. So you've got to have your paperwork in place. There's no point going back and quickly filling in your temp sheets just for the awards.
Yeah.
You need to start doing these things as a permanent thing.
There needed to become procedures and protocols that we brought in, and I think it was about when I'm going off piste. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I think you're essentially saying that as you probably got busier, that you naturally had to have procedures in place.
Well, it was. I think it was to do with our naivety, being young.
Yeah.
So we'd grown into the role, and we knew where we were going. And this was probably sort of late 20s. So bearing in mind, we'd been in the trade then for 10 years.
Yeah.
When we got sort of to our late 20s, we grew within the business, and we wanted to make sure that what we were focusing on, that it was naivety. I think those not filling in temp sheets and doing things thinking, we'll be all right.
I think I get it. Like, with businesses, I understand when they don't want to do it. It's seen as, well, it doesn't make my fish and chips any better. But it sort of does in a way, because, the fact is no one's hopefully getting sick. And if you're doing paperwork, then you're also hopefully looking at other things and making sure that, your fridges are working and your hot box is working and everything's at the right temperature. Yeah. So I understand when people say, it's all paperwork, but we live in a world where, you have to have all this traceability. People get really sick eating food. And so it makes...
it's hugely important now. I think over the last 5 years, 6 years... we knew we had to have those things in place, which we wrote an operations manual for the business. And I think that's really the turning point of where Krispies became what it is today.
Yeah.
We knew that we had to focus on how we were running the business. We had to grow up. We had to stop being sloppy. We were kids, really. And we were learning as we were going along, and still are. But we had to make sure that everything had a procedure and a protocol. And that's what changed the face of the business. Although we were already doing the refit and evolving, I think the real core was the operations manual that we wrote.
That sounds
and we went from, when we bought the shop, we were open 6 days a week. And we very quickly started to open Sundays. And then I very quickly got sick of working 7 days a week. So the operations manual was key for us, that, if we're going to leave somebody else running the business, that they need to know exactly how we expected every procedure to do.
Makes sense.
So in it is from how to mop the floor to how to make batter.
And now, many would laugh about this, and I see a lot of comments on Facebook, and we're going to get onto staff shortly because it's the next topic, but I see a lot of comments sometimes, and it's like, the staff are thick, or staff don't know that. And I get it. Look, it's a stressful business, but if they've not been shown something, or it's not written down, how would we expect them to know? And you guys are saying, look, I didn't want to work Sunday, so I wrote this stuff down and taught people how to do it. So essentially, you have got a point to be upset if it's not been done right, because it is written down and they have been shown how to do it.
Yeah. So, I used to get frustrated because I was thinking, I've taught them how to do this. Yeah. But it needs to be in writing.
Yeah.
They can't be expected to work from your head.
Look at the likes of McDonald's. You don't get to we're not even getting into the food, but just procedures. All of that. Everything's in place. Everyone knows what's expected of them.
I think that's the one thing that Tim and I have always wished we'd have done before. If we hadn't started out so young. I think even now, if someone offered me the opportunity to go and work at McDonald's for a month away from the business, I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Well, Tim's thinking right now, you can still go do it.
Hang on, he wants to do it too. I think you just learn so much. I think their business model has to be admired. Yes, okay, the food's always up for debate.
It is everywhere.
absolutely. Fish and chips, isn't it? Everyone can debate every different type of cuisine there is, but I just think they have a business model that works. And
whether you think it's good or bad, every one you go to is exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've got those procedures spot on.
And I love the fact that I'd like to think, I don't know whether we have, but I think Tim and I would like to believe that we've created a turnkey operation. That's kind of what has always been the focus of Krispies.
Makes sense, yeah. And then obviously earlier this year, you then win the Independent Fish and Chip Shop of the Year awards by Seafish. Did I say that all that? Because I'm going to get someone that said I say it wrong. So then,
independent takeaway.
Oh, sorry. Yes. All right.
Well, you'll be surprised the amount. I think we've had at least 2 1-star reviews just because we didn't have a restaurant.
That's got to be your fault.
And it was like, and they've won an award. How could you win an award? Because they haven't got a restaurant. It was like, well, we won the takeaway bit.
The takeaway bit. Yeah, it's just that bit. Yeah. And in terms of the awards, it has got the naming of it has become long-winded. I'd like the olden days when we used to just say Fish and Chips of the Year. I think we've gone back to that now anyway.
That's kind of what I call it.
Yeah, and it is the main award anyway. So so obviously you've invested loads, and but what was it like to actually that milestone to win? And don't get all soppy and cracks. We don't like that.
I'm not going to cry. Okay. It was just.
Considering we had never ever got past top 60.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realise.
Yeah. Because again, many might, because I think afterwards there was comments that were saying, "Oh, I could have picked that," and I knew they were going to win. And well, that is a really important point that in all of those previous 5 or 6 attempts, you never got past the local stage.
Yeah.
So that is, I think that's worth saying. Yeah.
No, it was amazing. I mean, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. The presentation, and everyone says, "Oh, there's no pressure," but we cried over it, we argued over it, we lost sleep over it, we sat down at family meals and they ended up in arguments over it, because for us it was.
That's all right. It's just something outside. I'm not sure what it is. It sounds like one of those.
Somebody's putting a ladder up.
You clearly didn't tell the neighbours either.
We lost sleep over it, and it was. Do you know what it was? We decided that we were worrying too much about what everyone else thought, as opposed to focusing on what we were trying to get across. And as soon as we made that decision that we wanted to get across our story and who we were, and if that wasn't good enough, then that was okay. Turns out it was okay. I really enjoyed the presentation.
As in sitting there watching it?
No. Like actually presenting it.
I get that.
No, giving the presentation was fun. And I think actually, when I'm speaking on behalf of Tim, but I
he's used to it.
I think when we came out of that room, we felt we'd done everything we could, and we were genuinely happy.
Yeah,
I think I got to admit, I remember walking up like afterwards, and I think I got to the hotel about afternoonish or whatever. And I think I bumped into you somewhere, and you guys just seemed pretty chilled. And I think it's not that you thought you was going to win; you just thought we'd done the best we can do. And I think you felt content,
and we were fine with it.
Yeah.
It was first time in the top 10. We were happy where we got, and we went in that room. We said we were going to give it our all, and we were okay. If that wasn't what they were looking for, then that was fine by us.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty important. Like, if you're content with that, then it's important that you just walk away. And I think it's important that you said, Kelly, that you were worried about what other people thought. And I think that that's probably a thing in every industry or in every day of life and every walk of life. I think we all worry generally of what others think instead of actually how we're going to progress and talk about what we do.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as our daughter's doing her A-levels at the moment, and it's we always say to her, you can only do the best if you go in that room and you are the best you can be on that day, and you've put in all the effort, and you've done all the preparation you can possibly do, then what will be.
Yeah, it's true. And you can only control what you do. You can't control what others do, and you definitely can't control how other people perceive you. That's their problem. So I think it's really important. So obviously that was a really good euphoric time for you guys. You were really happy. You got to take a photo with me as well at the awards, which which I'm that major day. And then
from a mantelpiece.
What's it been like since January? And I know we always get the blanket statement, amazing. But I mean, for anybody that's probably always trying to enter, don't just talk about the increased turnover. What's been different? Would you say
It's been hard.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been hard. It's hard on family life.
Yeah.
It's been hard on our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because we've been so strong and we've recognised that the goal is still the business, and that has to be the goal. After you've won, that's what kept us on focus. And taking time out, we joked the day after we won. We joked with our friends on a WhatsApp group and said, "See you in 2020." Kind of been a bit like that. Yeah. But the keeping staff morale has been really difficult. The first 7 weeks we all rode on a crest of a wave. It was great. It was busy. We increased.
And I think to some degree, especially with staff, they probably think this feeling's always going to be like that. And and you forget that actually, no, the long-term game is the same. It's nice that a camera crew's here and so on, but no, we've got to work. And it's still that job that it was the day before as well, isn't it? So,
hugely.
So, and for me, what I like about you guys, and I don't know if I've said it to you yet, is that I feel like, yes, you've won this, but your long-term goals that were there the day before, or the month before, a year before, are still there now.
Yeah, I mean, our goal wasn't to, our end goal wasn't to win Chip Shop of the Year. It was just part of growing the business. Yeah, one of the main reasons we did Chip Shop of the Year is you've been a boss of 20 years, you've got no one to tap you on the back and say well done.
Yeah,
that was kind of why we liked doing it.
Kelly ain't going to say that, is she?
No. But I mean, it was there was from the moment we walked through the door after we got back from London, it just went absolutely crazy, and that lasted for at least 2 months. People wanting a piece of you, the shop being just ridiculously busy. We saw 60% up for the first 2 months. Now it's settled. It's still busier than normal, but we've sort of got in a routine of it. We've taken on more staff. I think we've burnt our staff out quite quickly because nobody wants to be too arrogant and start employing more staff just in case you win Chip Shop of the Year.
Of course.
So I mean, the staff were working ridiculous hours. Now we've taken on, I think it was about 8 or 9 now.
8, another 8 staff.
So everything's settled now. People are back to their normal working hours and morale. But keeping, even now after the awards, all our staff were always working towards the awards.
Yeah.
Every year the award season would come round and we'd give them a pep talk and tell them what we expected. And they would be buzzing through the summer whilst they're waiting for the mystery shop. And now we don't have that.
Yeah.
So we've started looking at employing a mystery shop company to keep that morale going.
Yeah.
And give something for the staff to work towards.
Well, it's pretty important because, like you say, you've just took away that achievement as such. So that what could be is. So what do you do? So it's important. So one thing I wanted to sort of touch on, and again, we have spoken a little bit about this, but I remember talking to a girl that does a lot of video work, and she says to me once, she goes, I went to one chip shop, and I said, all right. She goes, she says, I went into the bathroom, upstairs toilet, whatever, and there was loads of polystyrene trays just hidden. Yeah, and downstairs was bio boxes. This was a good 10 years ago, easy, and I can't remember the shop, but I can't remember. It's an old conversation. But basically, she was like, one thing I've noticed that a lot of people make a lot of changes when the judges are around. And why would you do that? If you don't believe in something, why would you do it? Yeah. And it stuck with me, always stuck with me. And I've noticed that you guys, like many, have ethics. And you run your business the same way, generally, all the time, unless you figure out something new. And then you jump on that. And, but you're not going to do it unless you really believe in it.
No, I mean, we've done everything we do has been because we want to do it for the business. We've used recyclable packaging for the past 14 years. But we've tweaked it and we've got rid of, we used to use recyclable packaging, but we used to use a carrier bag.
Yeah.
We've got rid of the carrier bags about 7 years ago. And we've got rid of plastic pots to the compostable pots.
Yeah.
And the polystyrene pots. You tweak things. But we didn't want to, we certainly didn't want to be box tickers.
No.
And do it for the awards either. We did it in the first couple of years. We used to,
we used to come in, that was the way. Yeah.
This is how you've got to do it. But then you realise that you want to do these things all the time because they help your business. And
if we're honest, I think years ago you sort of had to box tick, in order to proceed. And I don't know. I'm hoping that's not the case no more. But I think that you can sort of tell those types of shops anyway. I think when you follow their social media, and you can, I'm going to say it out loud, like I might get shot down for it, but you can see it. You follow if you follow the time of the year.
Yeah.
Generally, once the admissions for the awards comes in, you start to see a very a progressive social media, and it's very much hitting on those points. And usually at the moment, it's packaging and probably MSC, and probably those are definitely the two key ones. Charity is always a thing.
I mean, we've tried not to, like, our Facebook and social media has always been quite personal. That's why I've never let any marketing company or whatever we've decided to do with marketing, things like that, take over, because it has to be our voice. It has to be Tim and I that are speaking on behalf of our business.
It's a hard way to do it, but I think it's the right way to do social media.
I mean, we got cold feet during the actual during the awards that we'd got to top 10 and we were thinking, are we doing enough social media? There's other shops doing it 3 or 4 times a day.
And that's dedication.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think you can bore your customers.
Yeah, there is that as well. Yeah.
If I get bored of looking at it and I'm interested, your customers aren't gonna want to see it all the time. So we were very keen to continue doing. We used to do it 2-3 times a week, and we're not going to suddenly change to every day.
And I think what's also pretty important is that keeping that local vibe, whether it's Tim and Kelly or whoever owns the shop, that's important. But also I think if you look at the social media of the likes of McDonald's, they're not really pushing oh, look at our packaging. Oh, look at this. Oh, did you know our fillet of fish is MSC certified? No, it's more about, do you want a fillet of fish? Or it's more about, look at this burger. It's more about the food. And I think that's what you should be pushing. It's more about the food or something you've done, but just telling somebody, hey, look at this plastic straw that isn't plastic anymore. I think, and that whole bandwagon, don't even get me going. So let's move on to the next topic before I start talking about plastic straws. So we touched on it just in the last topic, so staff training. And you both touched on that, how hard it is, to motivate staff and so on. And I know you guys really try hard to push staff, So how have you found, generally management skills? What have you both learned over the years? In terms of, what's been a great help in terms of managing people? And I don't mean being boss, I mean managing,
Well, the biggest thing I've learned is to tell them all to go to Kelly.
I sort of thought that was going to be the answer.
So lots of different things, really. Managing staff is about listening. Mm-hmm. It's about relating to them as people. So they're not a number, and we tell them that. It's about understanding them, their personalities. So we've learned to manage personality as opposed to just someone who walks through the door. And it's about making sure that, unfortunately, in today's world, you do become a social worker, I believe. But it's about listening to them and teaching them what's acceptable to bring into work and what's not, but also not shooting them down. Just be old school was leave your problems at the back door. You can't do that nowadays. No. I'm a great believer in that.
Well, it doesn't even stay there. It creeps in everywhere. It's social media. You can't. You've got to move with the world.
It's a different
it moves through walls. So and I think, and one thing I find interesting is that you said that you treat people like individuals, and I think that's really important because I think we all talk about treating everyone the same and being fair, but you can't because everyone is different. And and you're still fair, but you've got to treat John differently to Jack and. I'm being sexist, but you get the gist, don't you? You've got to,
And listening. So we talked about, we have an open door policy at work, and that is literally my office door is always open. Yeah. If they've got something they want to talk about.
I don't know. You seem to close it pretty quick when I bought biscuits.
The less said about that, the better. And even sort of hiring a manager. We've all had bad times in the industry with staff, and we've had our fair share. I mean, I think if you look at my payroll, 250 employees over 20 years, and some have come and gone, and we've had bad times with staff. But actually, do you know what? We've always taught ourselves to look at us first. If something happens on the shop floor, we look at Tim and I. Are we there enough? Are we doing enough? And then we'll look at our manager now. Is he doing enough? Is he doing the right support? What can we do to make them better? And I think that is probably the key for us that's made a good team is we've looked at ourselves first. Don't just blame them.
Yeah. Well, it's easy, isn't it? It's easy to blame everyone else.
Hugely.
And I think, and if we're honest, I constantly question myself in my work every day. Am I doing something right? And I might not show it to people. I definitely don't post it on Facebook. But, as a human, we're always we should always be looking inwards first, I think.
Hugely.
And I think that's great. But
if somebody at the end of the night hasn't mopped the floor correctly, there's no point. Sometimes it can be because they're being too lazy, but there's no point going in and telling them off and we'll generally put it down to the fact that, well, have we given the correct training? Is it our fault? It can't always be their fault. And quite often you realise that, actually we haven't given them the support that they needed.
Yeah. And if it is that they were rushing or there was something on their mind, well, you can accept that. We're all human. Like, oh, sorry, I was rushing. I was thinking about home life, work life, whatever. And if they do it all the time and they're just lazy, then that's another issue. You deal with that, But, I think that you've got to, I think dealing with people is nuanced. I might not have said that right. It's multifaceted. You can't just say, they're lazy,
Absolutely.
And I think what's difficult. I follow a lot of chefs and restaurants on Twitter, and and today I saw there's a chef called Tom Akins, and he's talking about how people don't want to be chefs. And I think, well, if they don't want to be chefs, how do people even want to work in fish and chips? Like, because usually we're seen as the ugly dog of the food industry, of the hospitality industry. So if people don't want to be chefs, how hard is it to find people that want to be in the fish and chip industry? So I think that finding great people, is going to be harder. However, I also think that maybe the focus shouldn't be on finding great people. It should be making great people.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we changed tack a few years ago on how we hired. So, again, naivety and growing in the business. I used to employ anyone, literally anyone. I never did reference checks. They'd come through the door, just be like, okay. But we didn't believe in ourselves, I don't think.
If we felt they were capable of doing that job, then we would take them on. But we made a conscious decision that, we needed, forget the job. We can teach them how to do that job. If they've got the personality to want to learn, personality to be customer facing, if they had all those things, we could teach them how to fry fish and chips
and give them a career. We were selling. I used to sell myself in a job interview and instead of doing it the other way around.
Because you were almost trying to make them feel like they should want to work for you.
But in the wrong sort of way.
I'm with you,
whereas we thought, actually, we have this great business. We should be showcasing it. This is what you can get if you come into work for our company.
Yeah.
Instead of just this small family business.
I'm not just saying it. I meet a lot of staff, and yours, like many, they're really bubbly. They're happy. Always have a laugh and joke. They take the pee out of me all the time, and I like that because I want to feel like I'm there. But you see sometimes that, some people genuinely want to be there, and others, there's others that still want to be there, and they might be at uni or something.
I think they need to want to be there because it is hard.
Yeah.
We go through a lot of staff just because after the end of the first week they say, I can't cope with this.
A bit too much for me.
Too much.
Yeah.
It's not McDonald's. We don't have the budget to just pull another member of staff, call them up and say, can you come in? We when it gets busy and the queue's out the door, I poke up my head over the range and say, move a bit faster.
Yeah.
So it is hard paced, and we do lose a lot of staff because of that.
Not like he has to poke his head over the range. I'm not being
I know.
funny.
I was going to say.
I might dip it down.
Yeah, I was going to say. Get to their level a little bit. Yeah. So and I think that's really, really impressive that you guys, you do try so hard. But I think we have to in this world. Like we have to today. Like if you want to keep good staff or cultivate good staff, you have to. And I think that sending the two lads, is it Darren and Rob, to Japan is an absolute genius move. Like you guys had an opportunity to go yourselves to do what is it? Fry fish and chips in a
British Fair.
In a British Fair department store, and you guys have sent two key people of your business. And actually, not only are you sending two key people, but you guys have to stay behind and work in the shop. Yeah. And I think that is a genius move. I think that you've cultivated staff there that would really appreciate that. Hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, I think when it was kind of one of those conversations that Tim and I had, and we knew from quite early on that we weren't going to go to Japan, and I quite openly say that. And it's so funny because obviously people ask, and the shock on their faces when they're like, "You're not going," and it's like, no, because actually for Tim and I, we wanted to stay in the business. We wanted to make sure that the business was going to run as it should run. Not that it doesn't when we're not there, but being however many miles it is a bit different to being a 4-hour plane journey away. Yeah. So we wanted to focus on the shop, and actually, why not give that opportunity to two people that I respect within my industry, who work for me, and know that they are good enough to go and sell my brand, our brand, and make sure that, and trust in them. There's no greater trust than sending them.
And they're amazingly proud that we've given them that trust, that we feel that they can represent Krispies over there.
I think it's massively important. I think I take my hat off to you for that. I really do. I'm not blowing smoke, like, you know that. Like, I've told you this before. Like, I think you texted me that night and said, "Oh, this is what we're doing." And I was like, "Legends!" Like, seriously, I think I rang someone else that night, and he can guess who. And I was like, "Mate, you're not going to believe it because I found out just now." So like, we were just like, it's a smart move, and you stay in your business, and also fresh set of goggles when your two people who are very good in the business aren't there either, because you're going to see stuff that that they've probably not seen themselves either. So you're going to back at the coalface. Not like you're very far away from the coalface anyway.
I love it. For me, it's exciting when we go. When you haven't been in for a few days, you've been sat, doing the office work. I wasn't born to do office work.
No, it's true. It's the most tedious work in the world.
I was born to graft, and I love it. I love being back on the shop floor with my customers and the staff that work alongside us. They're just great. It's the best part of my day.
So my next topic is sort of general stuff, but I think this is the most contentious one. I can see Kelly already squealing. So what, both separately, together, whatever, what do you love about the industry? Like, let's talk about the wider industry. We know why you love your business, but what do you love about the industry?
The people that I've met. I love networking. I love socialising. I'm a talker, as you all know.
I didn't get that. Did you, Tim?
And I like listening to different people's opinions. And I think when we've met people at industry do's and things like that, it's knowing that you're not on your own, and it's having an industry that you can fall back on. Yeah. I think some industries can be quite lonely, but for me, there's always someone that I can pick up the phone to and say, I'm struggling, or I'm sure Tim will say a few months ago he hit a couple of years ago, hit a quite postman.
That's postman.
Hit a low and didn't. We were struggling with potatoes and oil and all sorts of things, but picked up the phone to someone we know really well, and he just helped us out. And if nothing else, put your mind at rest. But there's always someone there. That's what I like about my industry.
Yeah.
Tim, same one?
Same things. I think there's no other. Well, I don't know. I've never worked in any other industry, but I hear that there's no other industry that people are willing to help quite so much as like we do.
I'd say some industries are like, I think if you look at the bakery industry, fishmongers, they've probably been decimated a little bit. But if you look at, I think butchers would help each other. Yeah. I'd say chefs would help each other. Again, there's, if you pick up the phone and talk to someone in Scotland, you've got a friend, Andrew Moore, for example, you ring him up, he's not going to say, "I'm not going to help you," is he? Like,
absolutely.
And same if someone from Kent rang you guys and said, "Oh, I'm struggling a little bit. What do you recommend?" And you're not going to help your direct competition. That's in any business. It's not just fish and chips. Or it's just awkward. You might not even be friends anyway. But what I'm saying is our industry, it does have the ability to pull in difficult times. So we've discussed what you love. Yes, Kelly. What do you dislike about the industry? Tim, do you want to go first?
Not really.
Is it because there is nothing you can think of, or is it because we'd be here till tomorrow?
No, I don't. I don't particularly have anything that I dislike. I don't.
No. Well, you wouldn't be in business this long if there wasn't.
I don't have strong enough opinions about anything in particular.
I think last night it came out in the wash that I have a lot that I dislike, apparently. But I would argue that, and I was thinking about it, even when I talk about it, I think my dislike is when I see that, and I think you guys will probably agree with this, is that what I dislike is that I feel like as an industry that we haven't got enough champions. I think and I mean, we don't champion the industry. We do in certain ways, but I'd like more of a aggressive, whether it was a PR campaign or something that really put the industry forward, and I think probably, and I'd love, and I've been saying this for a while, I'd love a campaign that is really run by fish and chip shop friars, I think, and or owners or whatever, and I think that'd be great. Yeah. But yeah, I think other than that, I don't dislike the industry. I think I dislike the watering down of the industry. I think that's probably what I dislike.
Yeah, I think people are too worried about other people. They don't want to say something because they're worried about offending another company or another person. But no, it's generally a good. Yeah,
good it's definitely a good place to be. Yeah, and there's a lot of movement. But I see more oomph. Know. And I think, and this whole this team thing, I think that you just touched on a little bit. We're afraid of offending someone because of something. Yeah, it just we should all just put the industry first, you know,
Yeah.
and I think that we shouldn't worry about being Team X or Team Y. Just push the industry, I think, personally. So what does the future hold for Krispies? I have just skipped over a question there. Sorry, Kelly, but I will go back to that. It's only a little one. But yeah.
That's a really good question. First and foremost is to just remain focused on what we're doing now and continue to do it. Again, on the back of the awards, that was always that was kind of never the main focus. That was I sort of see it as a starting block.
Yeah.
For the next 20 years, it's about making sure that the business runs extremely well. We would always. There was a bone of contention in our industry whether you should duplicate what you're doing. If you've got one, why would you do two?
Mm-hmm.
Although it's proven that people can do it. We've always wanted another shop, and I think if we don't do that in some way or another in the next 10 years, it'll be something I regret in business.
Yeah,
I think Tim would agree.
Yeah, even if it's to find out it wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I think at some point as you build this team, like you don't want to allow them to spread their wings a little bit as well. Like otherwise, and this is the whole thing of like building morale. It's like so we use Darren as an example because he's like a manager. Like if he's been there 10 years, at some point he's going to think, I want to spread my wings.
Yeah.
So you've got to, keep pushing that, haven't you, really? And how else do you build great people,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you probably will end up opening a shop soon. I think the way Kelly's talking, it'll be like tomorrow. But the way Tim's talking, it'll be like within 10 years.
No, I think we will. Yeah, we've been growing for the past 10 years, so we will continue to grow. We're going to be here for another 20 years, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I just can't see myself plodding along.
Yeah.
In the same business for another 20 years.
That makes sense.
I know people do it and they do it really, really well.
Yeah.
But if I had a restaurant, maybe I wouldn't. If I had a restaurant, I might be a bit more content.
Yeah.
Not that I want a restaurant, because I feel that we have over the last 20 years learnt how to run a very successful takeaway.
Yeah.
And if we're going to duplicate, that's what we should duplicate.
So I'm going to go back to that question I missed shortly. I think now you've just said that, this question works better. So can a takeaway business give good hospitality?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how would you define that a little bit? Like, what would you put it down to?
So the part and parcel of when we had the refit was I wanted to create somewhere that people could come to where they felt they'd left home from home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much an entertainer, at home. I like having people around for dinner, and I want people to come somewhere where they can feel comfortable and relaxed. And we've always said that we've wanted to create a restaurant experience in a takeaway with the food and the the service that we give. So for me, I believe the answer is yes, you definitely can, and I think I'd like to think that we have that. That's what we teach our staff to do. Make sure that you serve every customer with a smile. Mm-hmm. Make sure that they are the ones that you make eye contact as soon as they walk through that door. That's really, really important to me on the customer service side of things.
I think hospitality is the whole package, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just whether they're sitting down or
exactly, it's true.
Picking up and walking out the door. It's hospitality is the service that we're giving.
Yeah. And obviously you pair that with great food, great hospitality, people come back. It doesn't have to be that they sat down to eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back a couple, if you could, and you don't have to obviously, and if anybody ever asked for advice, what advice would you give someone?
My advice would be to people that maybe moan that they're quiet and moan that life in the industry isn't that great for them, and maybe look at why that could be. I'm a true believer, as we've had 3 of them already, that you need to make sure your shop inviting. Don't moan that you're really quiet and have a dark, dingy, drab, old-fashioned, whatever looking shop.
Yeah.
Do something about it. You could be. I truly believe that you could have. You could sell the most amazing food, but if your shop isn't looking right, then your customers, it's not going to bring the customers in, and they won't know you sell amazing food. people eat with their eyes, and they're not going to go into a rundown shop. Even if the food's amazing.
Great, good one, Kelly.
I would really, mine's just one word. Don't be complacent.
Yeah,
that's not one word.
That's not one word.
You know what I mean? But complacency.
A sentiment is one word.
Yeah, complacency. Don't be complacent in what you're doing.
Yeah.
As Tim's just said, all of those things are so true in our shop. It's just making sure that you're always moving forward.
And just looking at what I'm just trying to formulate what Tim said, and not to poo-poo what you just said, obviously, 'cause it's important, but they're sort of both adjoined anyway. But 15 or odd years ago, you could have easily made that choice of leaving the shop the same way it was and not investing. And yes, it was a big stretch. You put yourself out massively as a family. Both families. You really went all in. And that could have gone the other way. But you decided to just say, you know what, I'm not going to have this dark shop. I'm not going to have this dingy shop. I'm not going to have all these excuses. And you pushed through that. So in some ways, that's probably, their argument to you would be, well, I can't afford to do that to my shop. So, in one respect, I'm just going back with that and trying to join the two together, that you have overcome that. And that was because you took that bold decision. And
people say to us, it's all right for you because you're a big shop, or you've got a nice shop. And it's like, if you look back on our Facebook photographs, if you can go that far back, there are pictures of it, what it used to look like. Yeah. And it, looking back now, it was a dump. Yeah. We had a pink and grey counter to the front of the range. But
it was always clean.
Yeah. But the problem is, the problem is with shops like that, and we've had them in the past, we had an old Preston and Thomas range with a 4 mica counter. It was all chipped. And yes, it was clean, but it was chipped. And and I remember the shop was clean, but when you've got beige tiles and everything's those warm notes, it looks dirty. Whatever you say, and it's harder to clean. Those shops are harder to clean naturally. So you do have to some degree, move with the times in that respect, because new surfaces are easier to clean. And I'm not saying it needs to be cold and clinical, but you do need to sort of invest in that. But no, again, I just wanted to link the two, because I didn't want people to say that, oh, it's all right for you, you've got a big shop. It's important.
Our turnover now is 10 times what it used to be when we bought the shop, and that is purely because of
everything. And you've put in to get out. Fact. So moving forward, because mostly we've only spoke about business things and how you've spent and made. So I wanted to ask you, Tim, a little bit about, tell us what you do with the RNLI. And for those that don't know, that I didn't even know. It was, I knew what it did, but I didn't know what it was called. So it's the Royal National Lifeboat Institution.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you do there, Tim, in your spare time.
I've been a crew member for 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm on the crew. I go on the boats, both boats. We have 2 boats, a big one and a little one. And I joined up because I wanted to do something a bit different.
Yeah.
I wanted to be part of the team where I got told what to do.
Yeah. What was that like?
I enjoy it. It's quite nice.
I suppose you used to it.
It's been a bit like that. I've been at home. I joined up and I love it. It's there's nothing better than being out on the water when somebody else is paying for the fuel.
That makes sense, yeah.
And you saving lives.
And I'm saying, that's that bit, yeah. No, but it is great. I kind of became hooked when after I'd finished my training, my first official shout, and I literally saved 3 guys out of the water.
Wow.
Which was great. I mean, we all it's a team.
Yeah.
But we kind of one of you has to go over the rail and stand half submerged in the water on this platform, and be the guy that sort of puts the strops around the people to winch them out. And I kind of looked at all these people that were a lot more skilled and trained than me, and said, who's going over the rail? And I remember one of the older guys looked down and said, well, I ain't got my leggings on, so it's going to have to be you. And it was great. I mean, these guys, another fight. The guy that I saved, we saved, now does a lot of fundraising because he truly believes that another 5 minutes and he wouldn't have been there.
Wow.
And from that day, it's kind of that's why we do it. But since then, I'm a trainee navigator. And I'm also a qualified head launcher, which is the person who's in charge of putting the big boat in the water. It's on a carriage.
Is that the one that goes off the ramp?
It's on a trailer carriage.
Right.
And someone drives a tractor, and I have to direct it. And you're in charge of winching it back onto the trailer. And you've got you've got £3 million worth of gear that's
to break. Yeah.
When it's on the beach, it's my responsibility.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I love it. And Kelly's kind of got involved now.
Yeah.
With fundraising.
Chief fundraiser.
Yeah, well, we did the ball obviously in September last year, which is a pretty huge event. And out of that, we sort of formed. There's already an Exmouth RNLI fundraising team. It's sort of different clientele. You've got older clientele.
So it's not government. They don't get government funds, right?
No, it's
completely all
funded.
voluntary, which is what the great thing about it. And it's great to be part of. As Tim just said, it's nice.
So I imagine a committee for fundraising, the RNLI. I imagine a bunch of old biddies sayling cakes. Is that what you are? Kelly?
It is, yeah.
Is that what it is?
No, but they've set up
two different
an events team now.
We're the events team. And there is also a fundraising team. And the fundraising team do a few bake sales, and they look after sort of the older community, if you like, in the family community. Whereas we've kind of taken on sort of a different stance, and we do sort of slightly bigger events.
Yeah.
And
drink lots of prosecco.
And it's about making sure that we're raising as much. At the end of the day, we're all there for the same reason, and it's to raise as much money as possible.
And that event you guys held was pretty good. I must admit, I didn't see a lot of the front end, but you could tell everyone was having a really good time. And I thought, Nick Mill had a great time.
It was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
However, it was the most rewarding in terms of teamwork, and it was.
She came home one day from a meeting and said, "We're cooking.
I can imagine
fish and chips for 200 on top of a building where there's no fryers."
Yeah, look, this is what
you can sort that out.
She pitched the idea to me when we was having a coffee at Cafe Nero, and she was saying it all blasé, and I said to her, "Oh, what are you gonna do for fry ranges? Oh, I haven't thought about that yet. Oh, how many people were serving? Oh," she goes, "Oh, you'll be all right, won't you?" I was like, "I'm my own." 1 minute, and then how many of us was there in the end? There was 4 of us, and then all of the team that you had as well, which helped us as well. That was just next time she's doing it, we're sitting down and having a proper word. But I've noticed now with Kelly, it is a bit it's all right, it's all right.
I always get a job done.
Yeah, yes.
I, the collective, we.
So, when is the next one? Because I need to put it in my diary.
It's not. Not for a while.
I don't think there'll be another ball for a while. Not a fish and chip ball, anyway. But yeah, I mean, we're always taking part sort of with the Arm and Alliance.
So Krispies, going back to Krispies for a second. I've got here because I've been going through some notes. So in the last 15 years, you've both raised over £40,000, and in the last 10, let's say 12 months, for argument's sake, it's nearly 20k, 19k.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. Over the years, I know it's not a lot, but it's still a lot of money. You've helped a lot of people there. How important do you see Goodwill, charity, whatever you want to call it, for the community? Because I think I obviously see the value, but what do you guys sort of see about that?
I think it's. I think being part of your community is a massive thing. It helps your business stand out from the rest because of what these great things you're doing for the community. So I think it's as long as it's not costing you. I mean, it costs us quite a bit of money when we do these things. But as long as it's not always costing you, I think it's what's wrong with
the interesting thing. I don't know if you've listened to it, but I know Kelly's read Danny Mayer's book, Setting the Table, and he says, and I'm going to butcher this, but he says stuff like that, the community stuff, it's banking customers for tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're really building that goodwill. Yeah, they're not going to come in today and be like, oh, here's my money, but. Yeah. It's almost more than that. The customers feel connected to you as opposed to I'm going to that place to eat. It's more like we said earlier, it's Krispies, and I'm going to Krispies.
Yeah.
So, and I think it might cost you, there's no doubt, but it costs you less in the long run, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's important, I think. I think one of the things that for us, probably I've always championed is that if you've got a business that's taking money from a community in a selling sense, then you've got you've got to be prepared to put back into your community. They're important. They're the ones that come in every day in, day out. As you've just said, you're building customers for the future. So yeah.
But it's interesting because, even someone like McDonald's, I met with the lady who owns 16 McDonald's, and
they embed themselves in
they really do. They massively embed themselves, and everyone says, "Oh, it's just some faceless brand," but it's not. The franchisees, they really do. They do they do street cleans. They do they clean the fields. Wherever there's any form of packaging, they're picking it up. They sponsor football clubs. They do stuff for the local hospital. And again, I'm not trying to make them as an amazing thing, but they do really embed themselves into the local community. Yeah. And I think that. That's again something we could learn from when I say we, collectively as a business. We could all learn from that. I think. I don't know if everyone agrees.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So moving on, because we're on the home stretch now, we're nearly done. So in closing, what books do you both recommend that have helped you in the business?
My biggest book was the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Yeah.
It was actually, I read that book or listened to it because it's quite hard going. I listened to it after Pete Fraser did a write-up years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was.
He loves that book, doesn't he?
Must be 7-8 years ago. And he mentioned it and I read it and I felt that it was business changing.
Yeah.
It made me it changed the way I saw things. The whole working on your business, not in it.
Yep.
Although I can't quite manage to do that. We're still very much in it.
You're still in the theory stage.
Yeah. But I think we've evolved as a business so much more since we've read that.
Yeah.
Realizing that if we're the guy out the back cutting the chips, can't be there coming up with all these great ideas and initiatives. So we don't do it 100% where we're not in the business, but I have a guy that cuts my chips, so I don't have to spend that time. I have a wife that cuts my fish for me.
Perfect. But it's interesting that I think that book I was saying to you earlier that I couldn't get my head into it. I bought it 15 years ago, maybe 10, and every year I pick it up and I put it back down. And I think now I'm just going to get the audio book because I think that it's just going to hopefully really sink in. But no, it's so true. You can't be doing everything.
Yeah.
And Kelly, your book was?
It's Losing My Virginity, I think, by Richard Branson.
Okay.
That's what it's called.
Not
Finding My Virginity.
Like a Virgin?
No, not like a virgin.
Well, it says here. No,
that's what I'd written.
All right.
Yeah, I'd written that originally. But it was... I think for me, he is one of those people that you just aspire to be like. I think all the things he's done in his life, yet he's still 65 years old and he's still pushing to be better than he was yesterday. Yeah. And he grew. He had a nice upbringing. It wasn't overly privileged, but it just sort of drove me. It just sort of switched this light bulb moment for Tim read it as well when we were on holiday. It was just this light bulb moment that actually maybe you can be a good person and do good things in life and link them to your business. Yeah. That's kind of probably why I have that view that if you've got something, you've got to give back. I just think he's an inspirational person.
Fantastic. And who has been either an inspiration or a great help to you both in business?
Well, mine is my dad.
Yeah.
I left catering college, trained to be a chef. Not that I've cooked anything other than fish and chips since, but I had no idea how to run a business. And he was my mentor all the way through. He was also a pain in the ass, but we've all got one. He taught me how to run a business. Obviously, there's other people in the industry as well. I remember we used to look up to Mark Petru.
We used to.
Oh, we do.
I was going to say that's me. And I was going to
say, take it easy, mate.
Mark's great. I remember seeing him at a trade show not long after he won Chip Shop of the Year, and I think we kind of sort of nudged each other and said, there he is. Yeah. He's over there. It was stuff.
It's weird, isn't it?
Really weird.
And then we went and saw him without even letting him know we were going to see him, and he sat down and spoke to us for 3 hours on his split shift.
He's good at talking, though, to be fair.
Yeah. And he was just, a normal guy.
It is weird, because I remember when I first met him, I felt exactly like that. And I just thought it was because I was really young. I was like 18 when I first met him. So I just thought that was it. But no, to hear you say that, like, and he does just give you time. Like, if he's got it, you've got him all day. Like, and he's one of those guys that will give you all of his attention. Yeah. Like, I'll pick up my phone halfway through and start thinking about something else. He's like undividedly yours. Like, but that's the amazing thing with Mark. Like,
he taught us a lesson, didn't he? He said, "Don't believe your own hype." And I'm going back. What was it? 2016. He won, I think. 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. That's how long ago it was. So, and I just remember him saying to us, "Don't believe your own hype," and that stuck with us from day one. From that meeting, hasn't it? Yeah. And everything that we've done. Yeah. Is focus on your business. Don't believe what else. The photos in the paper and all that sort of stuff are just part and parcel of it.
And Kelly, who did you want to mention?
Just a couple of people. My parents were always the ones that inspired me, really. They taught me the work ethic and hard graft. Yeah. But I think in recent years, it's been Ali Maya, who's our marketing consultant. She's been she's a great dreamer with me, really. That's the great thing about having her doing our marketing. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether Tim agrees or not.
I bet you gang up on him, don't you, really?
Absolutely.
He's laughing.
She's just great at what she does. She's very focused. She's taught us how to market the business in the correct way. Yeah. We're very savvy with how much we spend. She knows we've got a budget. We're a small business, but yeah, she's always been a great inspiration, and just little quips that she follows the rugby quite a lot and listens to sort of coaches, and she's kind of brought that back to the table. So I think she's more than a marketing consultant. She's become a business consultant. That's really good. And I think that she's, I'm looking forward to sort of working with her over the next few years as well, and seeing where that relationship grows and moves forward.
Fantastic.
She was one of the people that taught us that there's no point changing one thing a lot. It's better to change 100 things by 1%. Yeah. I think that was somebody that
Clive Woodward that said she listened and.
So yeah, that's I think that's what we did for the awards. Is we changed lots of little things all the way along to have this overall big effect.
It's funny that you say that at the end of the podcast, because essentially what we've been talking about over a 20-year period has been that. Yeah. And was there anybody else?
It's got to be Fred Capel. He's a great guy. He's been so much help. Just calming your nerves and things like that when you're in this last year. He was the guy that I think it was probably 2016 that came and did our mystery shop, and we didn't even know he was there. Yeah. And taught us that we shouldn't argue in the shop together.
Yeah. He has that. He does.
Didn't get through past the top 60.
But that's Kelly's fault.
We were bickering. Well, Kelly was probably having a go at me. But, But no, he's a great guy.
Fred's a man; he'll understand. Yeah. But no, he I know him really well, and I'm not blowing smoke up him either. Like, I'm just want to be honest, but I think he's ultra calm. And again, if you was to ring him, and I'm sure this has happened many times, you'll ring him and say something, and he'll think about it and come back to you whenever he's ready with an answer. Yeah, you can't rush him. No. And he just needs time to soak in that answer, doesn't it? And I think, and it is weird because many people have told me that when he's done judging, they didn't even know he was there. I know people that walk past him sometimes at trade events, and they don't even look twice because they don't think that's Fred Capel. But then when I introduce them, they're like, "Oh, I just saw him." Because he's not one for the fame. Yeah. And what's annoying is that you've mentioned his name, which means that he won't share this podcast now. And he won't so that ruins that. But, and he's just really quite a down-to-earth chap. Yeah. And oops, I just hit my mic. But yeah, he is a really down-to-earth chap. And I think he will help if people want help. Won't just go out and give it. You've got to want it. Yeah. But I think, we've come to the end of this. And I think that, it's been great, guys, and I wish you great success in the future. And we're going to see each other again. Not going anywhere. But we do actually have some work to do today as well, don't we? So, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure we'll probably do something again like this in the future. And guys, have a great day.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to that one. We hope you enjoyed that episode with this year's Fish and Chips of the Year winners, Tim and Kelly from Krispies in Exmouth. It won't be long until we release our next episode, so thank thank you very much for now. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you, guys.